Travel, journey, voyage, expedition, tour, pilgrimage, safari, odyssey, to boldly go where no one has gone before.
Welcome to our podcast, Travel Unraveled, an ISTM podcast sponsored by the International Society of Travel Medicine and ITIT, the International Association for Medical Assistance to Travelers. So Professor Schlagenhauf is the director of the World Health Organization Collaborating Center for Travelers' Health, and she has developed this amazing tool to use for surveillance in travelers. So Professor Schlagenhauf, please tell us about the ITIT app.
Aisha, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you about the ITIT app. So the story behind the app is quite simple. Professionally, we're all trying to examine patterns of illness in travellers and to see what are the trends to perhaps identify hotspots for infections or outbreaks. So we had this idea that travellers themselves should be sentinels, because when we work in the framework of GeoSentinel, surveillance is coming top down. Professionals, physicians, public health authorities are looking to see what infections are happening, whereas with ITIT, illness tracking in travellers, we want the travellers themselves to give information about what happens to them during travel.
That's fantastic. So tell me more about the ITIT app. Where can the average traveler find it? Is it available for free, or do you need to pay for it? How do you sign up?
Very simple. It's free of charge. You can sign up by scanning the QR code. It's on a little card here, either in the Apple Store or Google Play. It's available in 14 languages. The app was developed by my team at the University of Zürich in collaboration with the World Health Organization. So this is a public health asset. We're not commercial. We're trying to really survey illness in travellers.
So this is a way that travelers can really contribute back to the research and surveillance that's being done around the world.
That's really a good synopsis of what it is. It's almost like citizen science.
Right. So it's bringing in the responsible traveler and really reaching out to you, the listeners, to help us really understand how disease is being transmitted and moved as the geography of travel medicine changes across the world.
Absolutely.
So what would you say is a benefit to the traveler to using this?
Yes, so with everything digital and with every app, you have to have incentives. As my kids say to me, "Mommy, what's in it for us?" So what's in it for the traveler is a range of incentives. They have access to outbreak news directly to the app, coming from the WHO, verified outbreak news. They have country information. So, for example, you're going to Kenya on holidays, you can see if there's malaria in Kenya, if you need a yellow fever vaccination. All of that information is in the app. Plus, you have a searchable e-library of topics. So you have topics like diarrhea, dog bites. You can really look and see what is interesting for you. You can learn all about the different illnesses that are relevant for travelers.
So it's a fantastic resource that's available for travelers at the tip of their fingertips.
Absolutely.
And can it be downloaded, or is it usually available through like online access only?
It can be downloaded. And we are collaborating with what we term the global ITIT team. So we have ambassadors or people who are interested in the project all around the world who are promoting the app.
And there could be benefit as well. For example, if you're tracking some of the symptoms while you're traveling, and if you do get sick, when you come back, that information can be of a benefit to help your physician or your health professional diagnose you and help manage whatever illness you may have picked up that hopefully we're preventing through this podcast.
That's a very important new feature of the app. So we have what's called the My ITIT Health Diary. So it shows you your travels, where you became ill, with exact geographic location. So you can really help the traveler and the physician who's seeing the ill traveler to find out maybe the incubation period, the area of exposure. That's all in the app, in the My ITIT Health Diary.
Professor Schlagenhauf, that is one amazing tool. Thank you so much for creating it and providing this for the average traveler. We're very excited to introduce this to our listeners. You have been really instrumental in the travel medicine world. Tell us a little bit about maybe one of your favorite things or one of the highlights of your career. I know there's a lot, but like your area of interest and just something that maybe stands out to you in travel medicine that you'd like the listeners to hear.
You've put me on the spot, but I suppose the topic that's really closest to my heart is malaria in travellers. I've come to this area of the digital surveillance of travellers rather in the last while, but I think it's fascinating. I think it's the way forward. And I think it's also a way to communicate with the traveller in a very user-friendly way and to really reach the traveller directly. So I can just hope that this podcast will raise the appeal of the ITIT app and help us all to know more about what happens to the traveller on their trip.
Absolutely. And in the end, we all are connected and we all are collaborators to create a healthy planet, not just for travelers, but for hosting countries and for locals and for our families and communities. So thank you so much, Professor Schlagenhauf. That's fantastic.
One last thing I'd like to say about the ITIT app is that we're trying to amass a large amount of data. So you can imagine with the ITIT app, we have illness data, we have geolocation data, and we have environmental data. And we think by putting all of those data types together, that we can have a rich resource that's open for machine learning and also for data mining. So I think this is going to be the future.
Thank you so much for highlighting this very important tool. We hope all you travelers listening will look into it and download it and use it. And if you want to send us any feedback on it, we are always available, and we can always put you into touch with Professor Schlagenhauf. She'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Of course. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aisha.
So that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you to our sponsor, the International Association for Medical Assistance to Travelers, located on the web at iamat.org. Don't forget to follow Travel Unraveled on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts or on your favorite podcast platform. We'll post fun clips and extra resources on the ISTM website located at learning.istm.org/podcast. We're also on Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and Instagram at _ISTM_. Finally, and thankfully, Travel Unraveled is produced by Ghost Bureau out of Toronto at ghostbureau.com.
Please remember that the information presented in this podcast is intended for educational and informational purposes only. It should not be considered medical advice, nor is it intended to replace consultation with a qualified healthcare professional. The views expressed by the hosts and guests of this podcast are their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions or policies of the ISTM or any medical or other health professionals, hospitals, clinics, or healthcare facilities. While we strive to provide accurate and up-to-date information, the medical field is constantly evolving, and there may be new findings or developments not included in our content. We encourage our listeners to consult with their healthcare providers for any medical concerns or before starting any new treatment. Neither the ISTM nor any of its affiliates, sponsors, producers, hosts, or guests are liable for any direct, incidental, consequential, indirect, or punitive damages arising out of access to, use of, or inability to use the content of this podcast, or any errors or omissions in the content hereof. By listening to this podcast, you agree not to use this information as a substitute for, nor does it replace professional, medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult with your healthcare providers for guidance appropriate to your specific health situation. Thank you for listening to Travel Unraveled. We are committed to sharing knowledge and fostering discussion in the pursuit of better health and well-being.